turn now to the ABC News exclusive tonight, the major turn for a man once very loyal to Donald Trump. Sources telling ABC News tonight that former Chief of Staff Mark Meadows has now been granted immunity to testify before the grand jury in the federal election interference case. Meadows now says he told Trump that there was no evidence of fraud that would change the results of the election and that those allegations of fraud were baseless. So what does this now mean for Trump? And just today, another lawyer turning, and the tearful statement she read in a Georgia courtroom. Here's our chief Washington correspondent, Jonathan Karl, with the new reporting tonight.
In a striking break with the former president, Mark Meadows, the former White House chief of staff, long seen as one of Donald Trump's closest and most loyal advisors, has testified before the federal grand jury investigating election interference in exchange for immunity, according to sources familiar with what Meadows has told special counsel Jack Smith's team. Those sources tell ABC News Meadows told prosecutors Trump was being dishonest when he said this on election night in 2020 before all the votes were in.
This is a fraud on the American public. This is an embarrassment to our country. We were getting ready to win this election. Frankly, we did win this election.
But according to sources, Meadows told prosecutors, obviously we didn't win. In fact, he said that he agrees with the Department of Homeland Security's assessment that the 2020 election was the most secure election in American history. It's quite an about-face for Meadows. He was by Trump's side as he tried to overturn the election, including setting up that phone call where Trump urged Georgia's Secretary of State to, quote, find 11,780 votes.
Mr. President, everybody is on the line, and just so, this is Mark Meadows, the Chief of Staff.
Meadows was standing backstage with Trump and his family at the January 6th rally outside the White House.
Mark Meadows, an actual fighter.
But sources tell us Meadows testified that in the weeks after the election, he repeatedly told Trump the allegations of significant fraud were turning out to be baseless. There were simply no evidence. Meadows also said he thought of resigning many times himself, those sources say, but he stayed on because he wanted to help ensure a peaceful transition to a Biden administration. This comes on a day of drama and tears in a Georgia courtroom, as another close Trump ally pleads guilty in that state's election interference case.
State versus Jenna Ellis.
Lawyer Jenna Ellis, who promoted Trump's election lies, today says she regrets it all.
If I knew then what I know now, I would have declined to represent Donald Trump in these post-election challenges. I look back on this whole experience with deep remorse.
Ellis is now pledging to cooperate with prosecutors in their case against Donald Trump. Meadows' testimony is an extraordinarily significant development in the days and weeks between the 2020 election and January 6th. No individual was closer to Donald Trump than Mark Meadows. One important point, David, our sources say that Meadows testified that he never once heard Donald Trump acknowledge that he lost the election, not even privately. David?
John Karl and our investigative team breaking this late today, John. Thank you.